Signature moves are pretty crazy. It seems nowadays that everyone has one. These moves can make a Pokemon whole existence and instantly gain them viability, while others, not so much. But most are pretty busted, let's be real. Today, we'll go through some of the most crazy ones, and interesting facts about some, and how they benefited the competitive scene. Well, how they benefit themselves. I don't know if Astral Mirage is really benefiting the competitive scene. First, we'll start out with a crazy example of one. Just to, it's very crazy. Just to, get you prepared for the even more crazy. Blood Moon. I don't even know if there is any more crazy. This move is the poster child for busted signature moves. The reason is because this move is 140 base power. This is higher than moves like Draco Meteor and Overheat, and does not have the same lowering special attack downside, but it is weaker than Hyper Beam, which takes you out of commission for a whole turn. So what's Blood Moon's drawback? Oh, well, you can't use it twice in a row. That is practically nothing in VGC. Considering you want to protect a lot of turns, and considering it also gets strong moves like Earth Power to deal with its other stab that can't hit Rock or Steel types, or just to spread Hyper Voice. The drawback is basically nothing. And combining that with items like Silk Scarf, Specs, or Life Orb, this makes this OHKO basically everything except boosted Dondozo and AVR Chaladon. Well, maybe with a Terra. I want to put KO. Who knows? This move is even better by its ability allowing normal moves to hit Ghost types, making this move practically unwallable. Well, it can't OHKO everything. Practically nothing wants to switch into this guy. It's just a crazy move. Next up, we got Spiky Shield, which is an example of a great signature move on a not-so-great Pokemon, but then it became way too widespread. It is a greater version of Protect, which is already the best move in the game, and this version makes it take 1/8 of the opponent's health if they make contact. It was fine when it was given to Chestnut, who wasn't really that good of a Pokemon, but now it's on a lot of stuff, like Glamora, and even Ogerpon now. This move might not seem crazy, but in VGC, Protect is the best move. For strategic playmaking, such as attacking with one Pokemon using Earthquake with a protective Pokemon, stalling, Trick Room, and just stalling in general. The uses are endless, and having a better version of that move on a great Pokemon just seems a bit unfair. Which probably shouldn't be thrown around unfair, because some of the moves later in this video are truly unfair. Let's get back to Ogerpon. It also has another signature move, Ivy Cudgel, which is the most borderlinely busted move I've ever seen. The move depends on the form and deals 100 damage with a high crit ratio. 100 is pretty balanced for a signature move, but the crit rate is kind of crazy and can switch over games if you're lucky. But on the other side, how good would Ogerpon really be if it didn't have this? Sure, it has Follow Me, but it's not as busted. It could always be a lot worse. A move that seems busted, but isn't really, technically, it's Gigaton Hammer. This move is 160 base power, meaning it's the strongest move ever. Well, not counting team moves. It's also stronger than all the G-Max moves. It's crazy. Also, it's the same after effect of Blood Moon, which is practically nothing. The only problem with this move, which is the only reason you never see it in competitive, is because it's on Tinkaton. Tinkaton is kind of stinky. Only has 75 base attack compared to Trapinch at base 100, and is 1 point higher than the special attacking Menace Primarina. The move does deal decent damage, but doesn't feel all too powerful coming off of Tinkaton. Its other moves also do no damage. It's just a little unfortunate how underwhelming this move got dealt. Another busted move that got dealt not nearly as bad as Gigaton Hammer, but not too amazingly, is Revival Blessing. This move is terrifying. it brings back a Pokemon but at half HP. This move has 1/8 PP though. The move is obviously busted, but it was only granted to 2 Pokemon, Rabsca and Palmont. Rabsca is pretty trash, considering its typing and stats, which try to function as a defensive trick rumor, but it's just way too frail due to its typing. And then there's Palmont. Palmont's actually okay. Palmont has... It doesn't really feel like it should be running Revival Blessing in a decent amount of cases, considering it usually wants to run Fake Out, Close Combat, Double Shock, Protect. And if you don't want to run Fake Out, that's okay, but it's kind of hard to go with Revival Blessing on Palmont due to Palmont not really having the most bulk. It only has like 70 in HP, I think, and then 60 for defense and special defense. So it just seems like an awkward Pokemon to have that move. Now, let's get into some legendary signature moves. This will never find love. So, let's start off with Urshifu. Surging Strikes is one of the best moves ever. Top 5 attacking moves for sure. The sheer ridiculousness of this move is crazy. Did I just say ridiculousness? Whatever. This move does 25 damage for each strike, but with a crit. So that's a lot of damage. I ain't no mathematician. What do you want from me? Anyway, that alone is absurd. But what if you're on a defense... Well, what if you have a defense boost? You're dead. Intimidate? No. Focus Sash? Huh. Fool. This move is almost unrollable. It gets even crazier with things such as Mystic Water, Terra Water, or Water Plate. This move just does a crazy amount of damage, and Water is just a very good type too. Anyway, Wicked Blow is also pretty amazing. Not as good though. It's base power. It's 70 base power, and it's pretty crazy. It has all the upsides of Surging Strikes, but it's a little worse because it doesn't break sashes and doesn't have multipliers such as the Mystic Water. Now, let's get into the final ones. The restricted legendary moves. Let's get started with the bad ones, and then we'll work our way up. First, we got Roar of Time and Spatial Rend, which are both okay moves. Either way, Roar of Time is actually pretty bad, because you just rather run Draco Meteor in most scenarios, because a turn of having 3 charges is always not good. And Spatial Rend also isn't as powerful and can miss. Sure, it doesn't have the downside, but still, you kind of just need a decent amount of damage in a quick thing if you're running a legendary at least. Next, let's get on to the decent ones that are better than the normal moves, but not too crazy. And they're like all 100 base power, except a couple ones. Sunsteel Strike, Moon Knight's Scheme, Behemoth Bash, and Behemoth Blade Fall. Wait, no, they're all 100 base power. Now let's get into some of the best ones, but aren't the best overall. Well, if they were on a tier list, I would put these at A tier. We got Collision Course and Electro Drift due to being single target, not being too bad, and also getting a boost against things that are weak to it. Then we got Precipice Blades and Origin Pulse, being extremely powerful moves that hit both foes, but miss fairly often. Now let's get into the big 3 of signature moves. We have Glacial Lance, Astral Barrage, and Terra Starstorm. They're all 100 base power and spread moves. They do get the risk of being wide guarded though, but they're just so strong that it doesn't really matter. And Terra Starstorm is also different. It's interesting because it gets 120 base power normally, but it's usually a normal type before. But you have to put in the Terra afterwards to get the spread move on it, which actually can be an upside and a downside in scenarios and does allow for a decent amount of versatility. And all these moves, due to if they hit 2 foes being weaker, essentially do 80 base power to both, which is 2 Shadow Balls, which is just kind of crazy to think about. So, yeah, those are all the signature moves I've wanted to cover. So, remember to eat your vegetables or something. I'm literally Dr. Phil. Before I end the video, in light of Reg H, let's talk about a new one that's kind of scary for a lot of players, including me. It's Electroshot. And you know how we just mentioned Archaludon? Well, this is its signature move. It is 130 base power and electric type, and it goes immediately in the rain. If it not, it usually just has a charge up turn. That's really scary, considering it's also it's just a slightly better version of Meteor Beam, which is already a good move. But that usually requires you to have the Power Herb item, and you can just run Archaludon on rain. Another scary thing is Archaludon is extremely bulky, so it just gets stronger with, it also has stamina, so it gets stronger while being hit, and it just gets stronger due to the Electroshock too. The one bad thing is it's not stab, but the move is already extremely busted, and it being stab would just make Archaludon way too powerful. It also provides nice coverage too, which is another reason why it's scary.